Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be my After We Collided movie review. So before I get into the review, I do want to say that I am a fan of the books. I loved the first movie. This is going to be like purely a fan review. I am going to be obviously critical, but I am still, at the end of the day, a fan. If you're looking for some like negative, hateful, bashing video, this is not it. I will link all of my After and After We Collided related videos down below. I did reread the book and rewatch the first movie before watching this one, so we'll be kind of comparing to the first movie and to the book and all of that. I'm first going to talk about a few things like non-spoilery, just for those who do want to know my initial thoughts and feelings on the movie, and then I will go more into spoilers, but I will let you guys know when I start doing that, and I will also leave timestamps in the info box for when I start talking about spoilers and then when I stop and all that kind of stuff. So let's start the review. I didn't like the movie. So many of you commented on my last After related video that those who have already seen the movie said, oh my god, you're gonna love it, it's so much better than the first movie, yada yada yada, and I didn't like this movie. I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I thought it was bad. There were more negatives for this movie than positives in my opinion. Obviously this whole review is my own feelings and my own thoughts. I just want to put that out there. This is just how I feel, and I know a lot of you feel very different to how I feel about this movie, and that's okay. I didn't like it. I didn't like the script. The dialogue was so bad. The directing wasn't a huge fan of. It was kind of weird. Transitions were odd, and like change of scenes were kind of everywhere, like all over the place. Yes, it was more like the book, and movie Hesse definitely became more of book Hesse. For me, this whole movie failed on the script, on the dialogue, and on the overacting. The chemistry between the actors, like Hiro and Joe, was pretty solid. Do I feel like they had more chemistry than the first movie? Yes, but I also feel like it kind of wasn't there at the same time for some reason. All the other actors were pretty good. Like, I enjoyed Dylan Sprouse as Trevor. He was good, plain, but like that's kind of how Trevor is in the book. Like, there's nothing really much to him, and I feel like that was fine in the movie as well. Kimberly and Vance and Trish and Karen and Ken were all great. There was something like a little off about each of them though. I feel like, again, it was the script. It was the flippin' script, and oh my god, I guess that's kind of it for like my non-spoilery thoughts. I don't want to go too much into detail, obviously, for those who don't want to know very much about the movie and kind of want to go in surprised. If you hated the first movie, you're probably gonna love this one, whereas I liked the first movie for what it was, and I didn't like the second movie. So I guess let's kind of get into spoilers now. So as I said, I feel like this movie failed with the script, like the screenplay. This felt like an author of the book writing the screenplay, which is exactly how it is. Anna, who wrote the book, also wrote the screenplay, and you can tell because I went with two friends who have not read the books, who just saw the first movie and got to see this one. They don't have any other extra like context. They haven't read the books. When we were in the car after the movie, my one friend, she literally said, do they think their audience is stupid? Like, the whole point of a movie is to interpret things and to have your audience think and observe, and you can't do that when everything, every scene was explained. And I totally agree. I walked out of that movie thinking, why was there dialogue every 5 seconds? And why was every scene explained? Like, it felt like you couldn't really think about how Tessa and Hardin were feeling because it was just like explained. It wasn't like you couldn't take a moment to guess or like feel how they were feeling. It was just like they were verbally acting more than they were physically acting. Does that make sense? Like, it was so much dialogue, and it wasn't enough physical emotion on their face. Like, I just feel like, yeah, you could understand that they were angry and they were mad or they were, you know, having fun or whatever because of the dialogue, but I just feel like you couldn't really get a read on their like emotions acting wise. Like, I just feel like it was like, oh, here's all the dialogue and everything is explained. I feel like I'm not really making sense in that way, but I walked into that movie theater and I was really excited, but I was also kind of nervous, and 5 minutes in and I was already cringing and I was like, what the fuck is this dialogue? And I am all for adaptations being more like the book. Like, I do think there's a reason why so many people love the books, and you know, you want to translate those feelings and emotions onto a movie and you want to have it as similar as you can, but dialogue in a book does not translate well in a movie. Even though a lot of the dialogue wasn't word for word and stuff, but it felt like it was trying to do and be as close to the book that it just was not good. Like, I'm sorry, that's how I feel. I also thought, like, did they think the audience is dumb? Like, did they think that we're stupid and that we can't pick up on things? Because everything just felt like they had to explain it and give it context, when it was like, we're not 5 years old. We can pick up on these things. Like, we're not dumb. I just hated that. It made it feel so obvious that it was an author who wrote the script, because it felt like they needed to explain things, and we don't need that as an audience. That's not a movie's job to explain everything to you. Give your audience more credit that they can pick up on things and that they can understand things without an excessive amount of dialogue. To me, a movie is not always good or well acted because of the dialogue, but it's because of how the actor portrays the emotion on their face, and we didn't see that enough in the movie. We just saw them constantly have dialogue and not enough pauses and moments to actually feel what they were feeling. It made Hiro and Joe feel like they were overacting, and they didn't need to do that, but it just felt like they were trying a little too hard, in my opinion. Deep down, I think I knew that the transition for Hardin to be different from the first movie was going to be a complete 180, and it was not going to be a smooth transition. I knew that deep down, and I was totally right, and I feel like that was kind of bad. I love book Tessa. Yeah, she's kind of complicated. She's dramatic, you know, she's not perfect, but this movie made me hate Tessa. I don't know what it is, but I didn't like movie Tessa. I thought she sometimes was a little more awful than Hardin was, and I had a love-hate relationship with Hardin in the books, obviously, for good reason. But I always loved Tessa in the books, and this movie made me really not like Tessa. Hardin, I kind of felt like similar as I did with the books. Like, I kind of loved him, kind of hated him, you know. But yeah, the change from the first movie to this movie for like characters changing was not a natural and smooth transition. It literally was like, oh, let's forget about the first movie, which is hard to do when you're a franchise. Like, I don't know, I feel like I could feel more of their emotions in the first one. In the second movie, you could just feel that they hated each other. Like, all they did was yell at each other and have sex, which, yes, is a huge part of their story in the books, but they barely had any emotional, tender scenes together where they actually talked about things and talked through things. It was just like every time they just fought, and it was like something happened and they fought, and then they had sex, and that was it. And it was like, you didn't get to see that deeper emotional level, and that it lacked in this movie. Sorry, my thoughts are really scatterbrained, to be honest. None of this is really making sense. All my notes literally are just everywhere. All the actors in general were okay. I feel like, again, it failed with the script and the dialogue. I liked Dylan Sprouse as Trevor. I think he did a really great job with what he was given, and I feel like he definitely added like that normality to the movie, and I don't know why they tried to add like more comedy and funny stuff. I literally could not care less. I didn't think anything was really funny. I just thought, this is really fucking cringy, and it just felt like they were trying too hard to add like this comedy, funny level to it, and we really didn't need that. I felt like there were too many scenes. Obviously, the book is very big, so trying to fit in as much as you can is a difficult task in itself, but definitely way too many scenes. They for sure could have cut out like 1 or 2 scenes and replaced it with something a little bit more important to the plot or important to character development. The sex scenes were pretty good. I didn't really expect like a lot of nudity or anything like that, so I feel like the sex scenes were pretty good and well done. I do feel like there wasn't enough emotion when they had like their sex scenes sometimes. It just felt like, oh, this is like a sex scene, and I didn't really feel their emotion. Like in the first movie when they actually finally had sex, you could feel that that was like a turning point in the relationship, whereas like in this it was just kind of like fight and fuck. That was it. There wasn't very much Landon and Tessa. They barely had any scenes together. Landon is a big part of Tessa's life, and you know, she is really good friends with him, and you still don't really see very much of that, and I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't really see a lot of Landon. I thought we would see him a little bit more. I also want to say about Trevor, because he's like, you know, kind of the main part of like the love triangle or the jealousy and drama. I feel like that was done really well. Like it wasn't forceful in any way. Like it felt very natural. Like, oh, she meets this new guy. He's really nice to her. She's confused about Hardin a lot, and there's this nice guy here. It didn't really make the love triangle feel overwhelming, and it was kind of just like a little bit there, which I appreciate. Like I thought when they were promoting this movie, I was like, oh no, like this love triangle is gonna be like a huge deal. It's gonna affect the whole movie, when really it didn't. Like it was just kind of in the background, which I appreciate. We got to see Hardin's journal. I like how that was still kind of mentioned twice. Well, not mentioned twice, it was mentioned once. And then when Hardin was with his mom and Tessa for her birthday cake, he was writing in the journal. So we got to see that, which was nice and important later on. The car accident scene, I didn't really care for. Honestly, probably could have done without it. They could have just changed it and made it a little bit more dramatic. Like literally she gets into this ambulance and he runs after her, which kind of made me laugh. I don't know. I was like, what? Like, okay. She has like this brace on, and it seems like really dramatic that like, oh no, she's going to the hospital. Like she was in this bad accident. And yet she walks out like the same day. And it's like, okay, what was the point of that scene? And then Hardin leaves and they have their 9 days. That 9 days in the movie was bad. I'm gonna be honest. It did not do anything for the movie nor the characters. When I pictured it being in a movie, I thought we're gonna get a new moon Bella Swan moment where like 9 days pass and you see how broken they are because they haven't spoke to each other in 9 days. That wasn't really showcased in the movie. Yeah, they didn't talk for 9 days, but like you could barely get a sense that they didn't talk for 9 days. Like in the book, Tessa was getting better as the 9 days went on and Hardin was getting worse. That wasn't really like in the movie, and the 9 days was just bad and unnecessary in the movie. It did not add anything to the plot. It was just like, it literally felt like a split-second scene where it's a car accident, Hardin leaves, Hardin comes back, they're reunited. That's literally how it felt. The 9 days should have been stretched out longer to make more tension and make more of their separation a bigger deal, and it wasn't. I like how they included the I love yous and the two, like don't say two because it means you're agreeing with me, which is obviously in the first book, and we thought it was going to be in the first movie and it wasn't. So that was kind of a nice little touch. I liked the Molly and Tessa fight. That was really well done. The whole New Year's beer pong scene, atrocious. Fucking hated that. So awkward and just uncomfortable, badly acted. I hate it. The soundtrack, didn't really care for either. I might have to listen to it again, I don't know, but no song really stood out to me. I did notice that they played The Fray a little bit, but nothing too stand out-ish for me. It felt very like poppy, whereas like the first movie felt very like indie. I do like how they included the piano score a little bit, which was in the first movie. I like how they included that in here, but sadly they didn't include it in any kissing scenes, which kind of bothered me because it was so vivid for the first movie. We got to see Anna's cameo, which was fine. The ending was, I kind of knew that that was going to be the ending, obviously, because that's like the book. And I like how they kind of included that first little hint at the beginning of the movie. I know that the books are both about Hardin and Tessa, but this one definitely felt like it was more Hardin's story, and they didn't really balance out Hardin and Tessa having each being able to like tell their story in a way. Like, it felt like, oh, this is now Hardin's story. That's what it felt like to me. Like, oh, Hardin is taking over the story. This is more about him than it was about Tessa. Which, like, I get because the books are about both of them. But it felt like we lost Tessa's voice in this movie, and we lost her feelings on things. Like, I just feel like we didn't get to see how truly upset she was about how Hardin would treat her and say things to her. Like, yes, they would fight and she would yell at him, but you never really got to see her be that upset. Like, she was upset once when he got her the Kindle for her birthday. She was kind of crying a lot, and she was crying in the tub when she read like his other notes. But other than that, I just feel like we didn't really see them upset and like think about things. It was just like, let's fight, and then we're back together. One thing I didn't like about the movie is, you know how like Tessa's always kind of still really innocent in the books? Like, yes, they have sex a lot and they fight. Tessa is not perfect, but she still has this aura of innocence around her, and that was completely lost in this movie. It was like they're supposed to still be very much opposites. He's supposed to be like this bad boy who's like really rough, who's very troubled, and she's supposed to appear like this very innocent, naive girl, and that was completely lost. It was like they both fucking hate each other and also love each other at the same time, and they're both really cruel. I know that's a whole other conversation of what it means to be innocent and a good girl and all that jazz, and I'm not really getting into that. I just mean that it was like Tessa just had this 180. Now she's like always initiating sex, which is fine, but in the books that's not really how it is. She's still really innocent in the books. Like, she still gets shy and uncomfortable about like sexual things, and that was like not in this movie at all. And like, what happened to them going to school? And what about Hardin? Is he not working? Like, in the book he has a job. Was that not referenced in the movie? Like, I feel like it wasn't. So like, how do they afford his apartment when he's not at work? And Tessa has this internship. Is she still not going to school? Like, it wasn't really mentioned that they were back at school. I know it was like Christmas break and stuff, but did they not go back to school? Like, I thought she was still doing that, because her studies are really important to her, and that wasn't really mentioned at all, other than her like changing her major. I hated this scene with Noah and her mom. I feel like that was so unnecessary. Like, yes, it was there to explain that Tessa still has a bad relationship with her mom, and that her dad might be in the picture again. Noah still kind of wants her and stuff, which that was weird. Like, why was Noah acting like that? He acted so bizarre. I hated that. I understand they had to film Carol's scenes after because Selma, the actress in real life, is sick. I can't remember what she has. So they obviously had to film on a good day for her, and so that was filmed like a couple of months later or whatever, which is fine, but it just kind of felt unnecessary. They could have just done a phone call. Tessa could have been driving, or she could have like stopped at a cafe before going home, and her mom could have called her then. Could have been like, oh, you know, don't bother coming. I'm dealing with your dad. And she'd be like, my dad? Like, what's going on? And, you know, that scene could have been done better, and then she could have just went back to Hardin. I didn't feel that they really loved each other. Just a personal opinion, but I didn't really feel the intensity other than in their fights, but I didn't feel like this intense moment of love or how much they loved each other, that it was them or no one. I didn't feel that. That was lost in the bad dialogue and the over verbal acting. I don't know if I'm going to see the movie again. I kind of don't want to, because I really didn't like this one. I don't know if my feelings and thoughts are going to change when I see it again, because if you think back to when I watched the first movie After, I was disappointed and I was shocked at how different it was from the book, but like there was still aspects of it that I did like, but it just felt weird. And then I saw it for a second time and I loved it more, and then I saw it for a third time and I fell completely in love. However, with this one, I am more angry and mad that I don't like it and that it was bad. That I don't think my feelings are really going to change when I see it a second time. I still think I'm going to think it's cringy and bad. And I love cringy, bad, uncomfortable movies, but this one just... I guess that's kind of it for all my feelings. If I do go see it again, I might make another video. I did forget to mention, like, I did see it last night, so I definitely slept on it and thought about it more. I still kind of feel the same way as I did like when I initially walked out. I was like, too much dialogue, cringy ass lines, overacting. I feel like I am being really negative and I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry this video is not super positive. I'm just sorry that this video isn't, I'm sure, what a lot of you expected. I don't really think I have a favorite scene, to be honest. I think maybe I like the scene where they're on the couch and she's reading and he's writing and they're talking about New Year's. I think maybe that's my favorite scene because it's the most normal and it's the most natural, I guess. I think their fight at the New Year's party was good. Like, I thought that was really well acted. I'm trying to think of more positives, to be honest, to kind of end this video on a high note, but I don't think I have very many. I just didn't care for this movie. I think that's kind of it for this video. Let me know all of your thoughts about the movie down below. Try not to be too spoilery for the people who have not seen the movie yet, but overall I didn't like the movie and I definitely enjoyed the first movie and still love the books. I don't know if I'm gonna care about the next movies, to be honest. If Anna continues to write the script, if she continues to write them, I don't think I will care enough to go see them because, no offense, but she's not a scriptwriter. I know that Mario Celaya also helped her co-write the script, but he has like no other credits on his IMDb. So I feel like they could have at least tried to get somebody who has more experience with script writing or with adapting novels. And I'm sorry, but Anna can't write a movie screenplay. It just was bad, in my opinion. I'm sorry I keep going on tangents, but I'm disappointed and I'm angry. Let me know all of your thoughts down below about the movie. I'm sorry if this video was kind of a downer, but I wanted to be honest with you guys and really tell you guys how I feel about this movie and all of my thoughts. And I hope that you understand that this is my opinions and this is just how I feel. And if you feel differently, I'm glad you loved the movie. I just didn't. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.